Michael Jordan, and the story's about NBC.
I couldn't believe my eyes when I read the story because I was like, what?
Who?
It just seems so weird. And that's really what we're asking. What? Who? Where? Why? We're actually asking more of the why.
Who?
Now, I'm not complaining. The who is, everybody knows. The who is Michael Jordan, or as they're calling now, special contributor for NBA on NBC and Peacock starting next year, 2026.
Special contributor is the most vague stuff you could say. That way, they could figure it out later. Special contributor could mean one time he does a sit-down interview, or special contributor can mean he's part of the weekly coverage or analysis.
Right,
I mean,
and that would be crazy because we don't know Michael Jordan on that level. That was part of the reason why we loved him so much. There was so much mystique around the guy. Like you referenced earlier, Rich, on our Patreon show, yeah, we know how he felt about certain players like Kobe and LeBron. He never gave LeBron really the love that I think LeBron wanted from him. We know how he feels here and there, but as far as game-to-game, day-to-day analysis, we never got that sort of insight from a Michael Jordan. So that's like a weird place to see him. And then you have to ask yourself, well, he doesn't need the money, so why? There's something cool about his mystique. Now he's putting himself out there to be speculated upon, much like Tom Brady in the booth. It's like, did Tom really need that? Well, there's life after sports, or life after the field and on the court.
My thinking is simply Michael Jordan. We saw The Last Dance during COVID. And what I think struck people was, oh, wow, he's a competitive maniac.
Yeah.
Wow, Michael Jordan.
Didn't know. We heard and we could assume, but we never heard those backstories like he's competing with the security guy.
Yeah, you heard the stories, but not like the full stories.
Right.
And, the whole joke of him looking at the iPad, I took that seriously. Michael Jordan, we learned a lot more about him through a documentary. Because you're right, there is a mystique and a mystery, oddly enough, about the most popular sports icon of our lifetime. So the fact that he's going to be doing anything with coverage, like we know Shaq and Barkley, they like to bust each other's chops.
Trying to step into my world.
They make fun of each other, yet they mock the game now, and that's a little counterproductive.
I've always said it.
Ernie,
MJ trying to be like me.
That whole crew is fantastic, right? Ernie, Kenny.
Yeah, you got the broadcasting chops. Like Shaq Diesel.
And Charles. But what does a guy like Michael Jordan bring to the table? Which is where we open it up to you. What do you want to see?
And by the way,
Michael Jordan doing?
Does he start cutting in like the other old heads, like the Barkleys and Shaqs of the world, where they're just dumping on these younger dudes? Because that might be a bad look, too. That might be something we don't want to see from Michael Jordan. Or are you interested in his insight? I am. But I don't know if that's what we're going to get. But is he now an interviewer like you referenced? That's possible.
Counterproductive, Covino, if Michael Jordan just hops on NBC and starts talking about load management and soft players and all, because that's what the league doesn't need. They don't need another veteran Hall of Famer
dumping on the league.
Yeah, so has Jordan become like the NBC cheerleader?
Right. Really interesting stuff. Michael Jordan, breaking news this morning. I was like, what? And then your mind thinks the worst, and then you read the little story, and you're like, special contributor. What does that even mean? Contributor, okay. That can mean a wide variety of things, and he's a special guy. So he's special contributor coming next season for the NBA. A brand like his and a name like his can only help the league. But again, I think the biggest question is why?
Maybe. You could, for only so many decades.
Think he's just bored and that's it?
Be like rich and awesome. Yeah. Like, what if Michael Jordan's like, I could go take my private jet to play golf anywhere. I could just sit back and watch my billions.
Yeah, but in today's world, Rich,
accumulate.
When you're putting yourself out there and you're putting your opinions out there and it's a two-way street of social media, like he is setting himself up for extra criticism and back and forth with these players, and he may be exposed with his opinions and his thoughts where he never was before. And that's why he maintained a level of awesomeness in our minds, is we didn't know all about Michael Jordan.
Well, he does keep himself busy with NASCAR. He's a co-owner of a team.
Slaying it there,
he's there at the garage throughout the week, and then, of course, on race days, he's there with the team. So he's kept himself competitive with that sport. So it would surprise me if he has a full-time role with NBC.
Maybe if you remove yourself from something long enough, you could come back in with a fresh set of eyes. Maybe up until recently, Michael still feels like I'm too close to the game.
Too connected.
I'm too connected. I played with players that are still playing, or, I mean, that's ended a little while now, but still, maybe that was sort of the vibe.
Maybe now it's just time. Yeah, I'm curious to see, what inspired him. Because here's the few factors. It can't be the money, right? You would assume.
Can't be.
Between the racing stuff and his branding stuff, Nike and everything else. Can't be the money that enticed him. So the why is most likely because he feels that he has something that we want to see, some insight that is intriguing, interviewing skills that we never thought about maybe.
I mean, does he have something
or
to say?
Or just straight boredom, like Rich said, the time is right. Like, he's just bored and it's time to get back to what really defines Michael Jordan, which is basketball.
He said something a few minutes ago to Danny, and it's a really interesting point that's, I think, a big factor.
What'd I say?
He said, Michael Jordan has never lived in a world where what he says and does is open for a back and forth and a criticism. Michael Jordan did what he did. Who's going to question him? A Chicago reporter?
Yeah, we never had like a young player be like, man, Michael, shut up, man. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
There's never been a world where Michael Jordan, after a while, had to answer it to anyone because the reporters all looked at him as like an icon. He left. He won 3 in a row, left, came back, won 3 in a row. And even when he was a Wizard, there was a sense of like, he's doing it for like the good of the league. Like, what a guy.
And by the way, he's so revered and he's so special contributor, Michael Jordan. To get criticism from Shaq and Barkley, it's expected at this point, right? We all know that Shaq and Barkley's not kissing anyone's ass. But imagine growing up idolizing Michael Jordan, and now he's the guy dumping on your game. It's going to sting in a whole new way.
What if Michael takes a liking and throws like ridiculous props to someone in particular?
Like an Anthony Edwards.
Like it's an Edwards. Or maybe he's like, you guys might not see it yet, but Michael Jordan here, Wembanyama is going to win 6 or more like I did. Like, he could very well throw some heavy weight.
Let me ask you, Rich.
Behind someone.
As a broadcaster, has he found his new basketball, or is he going to be more of a baseball guy? Do you think he's going to be great, or do you think he's going to be struggling a little bit? Or are we looking way too into it because special contributor means he's just doing some minor stuff?
Yeah, to me, this feels like NBC just trying to
use his name,
lean into the nostalgia of what they were known for when we were kids, especially with the AI story we're going to get to and everything. That's what,
and the John Tesh.
Yeah, that's what I took away from it, is that they want to flash us back and bring that feeling back.
Everything with NBA and NBC
tickles, a marketing. It's just a marketing move.
Tickles the nostalgia huevos. It really does. Like
tickles your fancy.
Yeah, but you don't get a Michael Jordan unless he wants to do it. Yeah, great move for the NBA. But there's got to be great incentive for this dude. He has too much to lose.
I mean, we're getting the return of Round Ball Rock, which is maybe the best sports theme ever. You can play the SNL one. I want basketball. Let's do that one, Sam. Why not?
That's a good one.
It's all good.
Basketball, gimme.
Maybe they lean into this one.
Yeah.
Basketball, gimme.
These are the lyrics. A lot of people don't know that.
So they bring it back, Round Ball Rock.
What was your first reaction when you saw the breaking news, Michael Jordan? Like shock, like, oh wow, or interest, or why? Or
honestly, my first thought was why? Because again, he's a billionaire.
He's golfing,
his brand,
he's chilling. He's doing what he wants.
He could, if Michael Jordan wants to buy a racing company or whatever he wants to do.
Here's the thing. Here's what I thought, and I want to hear what DB thinks too. I thought to myself, Michael Jordan lived and played in a time where he got away with so much, and yet we still loved him because we didn't know all the backstories, right? We didn't know. And he survived a world without social media, so he just slid by. It's like our parents in a way. You know how dad never checked in. He was probably at the nudie bar, but he just grew up in that time, and we loved him for it anyway. Dad got home late because he was at the nudie bar. Michael Jordan, we don't know what he was up to. We don't know what he was thinking, and he got away in a time where it didn't exist.
And Michael Jordan's so big, Covino, that I feel like we all, the collective us, think that Michael Jordan's probably too good for social media.
Right, so why enter a world now where I don't know if he has the equipment to survive? Like, does he have the social media skills to combat with today's annoying person? does he want to expose himself in this way? Set himself up for, again, media scrutiny of today? He got away with it scot-free back then.
I don't know.
Now he's putting himself out there to be exposed with anything he does or says. Is that really worth it?
And is there anyone that doesn't love
a
Michael
different
Jordan?
world.
He's so loved. Like
It's a different world he's entering. That social media world is brutal.
I don't hate Michael Jordan, but I definitely did not cheer for him in the Bulls in the 90s.
No, of course.
You know, like in that case, I don't think that there's any way that he is exposed in this scenario to get him to do this. They're not going to say, Michael, how do you think Pacers Cavs sorts out? I don't think that's not his.
No, not analysis.
It's not his wheelhouse. Yeah.
So then what?
That's-
his first interview is with Chicago-born the Pope. Michael sits down with the Pope. Michael sits down with maybe it's like
Maybe it is
I
an
don't
interview
know.
thing.
Who
Special
knows?
contributor is the story for NBA on NBC.
Yeah, this isn't Charles Barkley sitting on the desk of Inside the NBA. People think that that's what this is. Special contributor.
Yeah, not
so
that.
everything is going to be packaged. Also, when you look at The Last Dance, it was so heavily slanted towards Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan had the last word in everything. And I think my opinion of why he's doing this is he still wants his last word. We're at a point where LeBron's career is coming to an end. We are also at a point where we're getting just further and further away from Michael Jordan's career as it is. And I think that he still wants that voice for his career and his generation and that final word. He didn't do The Last Dance to have people tarnish his legacy. He did it to try to increase the legacy and show everybody what he was all about to a generation that wasn't familiar with what he accomplished. I would have to think that that would be the reason why he does something like this.
Yeah, and he has a team of brand people, I'm sure, that are steering
Yes,
the ship and
correct.
giving him advice on what's great for the brand for the future.
Yeah,
so that's a great point.
There's going to be who do you think Brooklyn's going to take with the 6th pick? Like that is not why you have Michael Jordan there at any point.
Unless he records a version of everything, and then they do a post game, and it looks like he just knows everything.
Jordan's
Hey,
mock
Mike,
draft.
let's see who Mike liked. The Knicks or Celtics? Well, I tell you, I feel like Game 4, Celtics probably by 6. Celtics by 6. He knows that.
You're familiar with this in radio, Rich. People do this in radio to make sure they have their butts covered for Monday.
Yeah, maybe
Their version of Tony Romo. You
yeah.
can just call things before they happen.
Exactly. Imagine he's just
Or maybe, speaking of marketing and things like that in today's world, we've seen guys like Tom Brady, who's also a GOAT, pivot to a guy that we didn't really know a whole lot about, like to a guy with a lot of personality to share. Like we just started to learn about Tom Brady in the past few years, like really know about the guy, right? Because he was under Belichick's wing and they kept business. We didn't know about Tom Brady, the guy. Maybe he's seen the good it's done for a guy like Tom Brady and he feels he has something to add. But not everybody's kind in this world of social media, man. And you said it, Rich. Michael Jordan's such a beloved hero of ours that it'd be interesting to see people hating on him because of a misstep he may have or something he says or his opinion. And that might not be the case at all. Perhaps Dan Byer's right. That's not what we're going to get from the situation.
If I were Michael Jordan, I would go around telling people today that Nike's up 10% today, not because of the tariffs, but because of this announcement. Because I just looked at Nike stock and I'm like, man, no, that's
good.
right, the tariff thing. But
Nice.
yeah, but yes.
You don't know? You don't think that's kind of part of it?
No,
Because
it's
when I
not.
think Nike, I think Jordan.
Nike's one of the top 3 brands that'll
Well,
benefit from tariffs and stuff.
To DB's point, if it's to protect his legacy and his era of basketball, bring back Ahmad Rashad and they could do like a throwback Thursday type thing we do where they do like, the throwback throw jam.
But isn't that backwards marketing, or would you say Jordan's the exception? Because you want to appeal to the younger guys.
You do, but in this age nowadays, I mean, my teenagers ask about Michael Jordan all the time and
This
look at his
the-
YouTube clips.
This
And
is the ultimate in connecting generations.
Yeah, exactly.
If Michael Jordan could bridge that gap of like father-son or mother-daughter, of mother-son watching a game and
Yeah.
being like, yeah, Michael Jordan, watch him. He's sitting down and
Or do you think NBC threw some money at him that he couldn't refuse?
No, I don't think this-
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think-
Again, we're
Nah.
just asking the why. Man, maybe the timing's right. Like you said, Rich, people get bored after a while. Maybe he's done golfing and
with the style NBC's presenting, how this looks like it's going to be, a flashback to what they were famous for, then I feel like it's connecting it's a bridge, like you
bridge.
said. It's a bridge.
Hey, and you may think we're over speculating, guys. That's fine. But we've never really got to know Michael Jordan in that way, and he's probably the biggest icon. He is the biggest living sports icon, period.
No
Is
doubt.
there another one?
No
Maybe
doubt.
you could say a soccer star for debate.
No way.
But here in this country is Michael Jordan.
No, I don't care. Soccer star or not. Messi. Who?
Yeah, when you look at the numbers, dude,
Ronaldo?
their social media
but
numbers are nuts.
But then you're talking about social media numbers. What they
yeah,
made an
but
impact.
those are worldwide impact. I'm not saying Jordan doesn't have
They
that,
don't have
but I'm saying
billion-dollar companies based on their silhouette on a shoe and branding clothing.
that's up for debate. Again, I'm a Jordan guy myself, but I can't tell you if Ronaldo is worldwide more popular. I don't know. I would say it's debatable.
I think here's where I want to go with this. Because there's another layer to the NBC coming back to the NBA coming back to NBC, and it has to do with a dead guy. I'll explain coming up. But I do want to hear from you guys as far as what do you want to see Michael Jordan do? Let's forget what he's really going to do. What role? When you heard this announcement, what would you deep down inside want to see Michael do? Would you want to see Michael sit down and interview
No.
Giannis or interview Anthony Edwards or some of the young players?
I'd want to see him. I'd want to see his insight and true thoughts on the players in the game today.
Would you want
but
to
I
see
doubt
him,
we're going to
but
get
would
that.
you want to see him goofing around at a round table? Or do you want to see him more of an analyst? Or interviews? Like I said, your thoughts.